So when people ask me, what's the ROI of content? I simply tell them this: your content is your sales team that never sleeps. It builds awareness, trust, and connection 24/7. And that's why it's the foundation of every marketing channel that you'll ever use. I'm Sylvie Garibaldi, founder and CEO of a well-established marketing training and done-for-you services company, tailored specifically for the modern legal and financial professional worldwide. While it's taken some trial and error to figure out which methods get the best results for professionals who are looking to grow their practices, fast forward to today, my team and I have nailed down and perfected a process that has helped so many of our clients consistently achieve outstanding results and create a legacy for their practices. I created the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast to give you simple, actionable, non-salesy, and results-driven marketing to grow your legal or financial practice like so many of our clients have. If you're a lawyer, mediator, financial, or divorce professional who is looking to become highly visible and wants to create a practice that makes an impact, then you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 97 of the Serve First, Sell Later marketing podcast. I'm your host, Sylvie Garibaldi. So I have an important question to ask you. Have you ever noticed how everyone's talking about what platform to use next? So for example, should I be on LinkedIn? Should I start a newsletter? Maybe I need to do webinars or podcasts. But here's what I'm seeing. None of these things work without content. And so the platform doesn't build trust. It's actually the content that does build trust. And so you can have the nicest website, the most polished logo, or even the biggest ad budget in town. But if your content doesn't tell people who you are, what you stand for, and how you help, unfortunately, none of it sticks. I want that to settle in for a moment because content is the thing that gives every other marketing effort its power. And I mean this sincerely because it's what helps people see themselves in your message. It's what makes someone say, I feel like I already know you, before they actually even book a call. So think of it like this. Marketing channels are just the vehicles. Content is the fuel that makes them move. So when you get the content part right, your social media starts working, your emails get opened, your webinars fill up, and your referral partners finally understand how to talk about what you do. So today we're going to dig into why content is the foundation of every marketing channel that you'll ever use and how to know if your foundation is strong enough and what to do if it's not. So whether you're a lawyer, mediator, or divorce professional, this episode is going to help you look at your marketing in a completely new way. Let's dive in. So I want to talk about why so many marketing channels don't deliver the results that people hope for. It's really not because the algorithm is broken, and it's not because maybe you picked the wrong platform. It's simply because the message isn't clear, or it's not strong enough to stand on its own. So let me share an example. You could pour money into ads, you can post every day on social media, or even host a webinar. But if your content does not connect, people scroll right past it. And here's what I see all the time. A lawyer runs LinkedIn ads that gets clicks, but then no one books a call. Or a mediator puts on a great webinar, but only a few people show up. Or a divorce professional sends out a newsletter once in a while, but no one really replies. And then they start wondering, well, why isn't this working? So the reason is quite simple. The channel is just the messenger. If the message is not clear, the channel can't save it, right? And so think of it this way. Content is the bridge between what you do and what your audience understands, because without that bridge, your marketing feels like shouting into the wind. Because people aren't just looking for services, they're looking for meaning. They want to know, do you understand my situation? Can I trust you to help me? And do you actually get what I'm going through? That's what great content does. It answers those questions before anyone ever picks up the phone. So here's the part most professionals miss. Every piece of content, whether it's a short post, a blog, or a two-line email, isn't just marketing. It's a chance to teach, to reassure, to build trust. So you see, content has a very important purpose. And when your content reflects how you think, not just what you do, that's when people start paying attention. So I hope this is making sense because expertise alone doesn't create connection. We know this already. Empathy does. So when your content shows that you understand the emotional side of the problem, whether that's stress, uncertainty, or fear, it really builds a level of trust that no ad can ever buy. I want to share another quick example with you. I worked with a mediator who used to post purely informational content, things like 5 steps in the mediation process, and it was accurate, but it didn't land. So once she started sharing stories about why people choose mediation, for example, how it helps families stay out of court, how it protects kids from conflict, her engagement and inquiries doubled. Same platform, same consistency, totally different result. Why? Simply because the message finally had heart and clarity. So here's something to remember. Every channel magnifies what's already true in your message. So if your content is confusing, the confusion spreads faster. But if it's clear, if it's empathetic, and if it's specific, then that clarity compounds across every single platform. And this is what we see all the time. So before you worry about your next campaign or platform, I want you to ask yourself, if someone landed on my page today, would they understand what I do, who I help, and why it matters so much? If the answer is, well, not really, then that's where your work begins, and that's totally okay. So once you fix the foundation, the message, the story, the point of view, every marketing vehicle that you use is going to suddenly start to make sense for the reader. And that's when I believe your marketing finally starts to feel more natural and you're not forcing it. You're just sharing what's true and then letting the right people find you. So now that we've really, talked about why channels fail without content, I want to flip this around a bit. What does content actually do when it's working? Because when you understand what your content is meant to achieve, then I really believe you can stop guessing and you stop posting just to post. And what we see our clients do is that they start creating with purpose. And here's how I like to explain it. Content does 4 things. It builds visibility, it creates credibility, it manufactures connection, and it leads to conversion. Okay, so I want to break this down a little further. So visibility very simply is, the content helps people find you. That's essentially what it does. So whether it's through a social media post, whether it's through a guest on a podcast, or maybe it's a newsletter, maybe it's a presentation that you're delivering, it's what gets your name in front of new eyes. And so for professionals, I believe this is really huge because it's what people realize, oh, I didn't even know someone like this existed. And this is especially true for the professionals that we work with. The awareness is still very low for dispute resolution practitioners and collaborative law professionals. There's so many options out there, and the public simply don't understand that, what your service is or that it even exists. And so they find you because you've been visible where they already spend time. And I think that's a really important message. The second thing content does is, as I mentioned, it creates credibility. So once people see you, they need to trust you. And when you share small lessons, practical insights, or maybe you share examples of how you help, what happens is people start believing in your expertise before you ever meet. And I think that's really, really important. People go online before they ever pick up the phone or send you an email to connect and have a conversation. So this is why it helps build that credibility. As an example, a family lawyer might post about how collaborative law helps protect families from years of conflict. And so this could be a family law lawyer that practices collaborative law as well. That one post isn't just information, it's actually proof. It shows that you understand the people that you serve. And the best part is you didn't have to say, I'm an expert, and you really just showed it through your content. Now, this is where I think so many professionals drop the ball because they stay in the inform mode when what really builds relationships is the relate mode. So the best content doesn't just explain, it actually connects. So it sounds like, hey, I know this stage is very difficult, or here's what most clients feel before they actually call me. When you insert words like this, that creates a human touch, and that's what makes your audience think that you're not just another professional, that you actually get it. When people feel that, they actually stop comparing you to everyone else in your field because connection is what makes your name stick. And it's what moves someone from being aware of you to actually wanting to work with you. So, when we talk about conversion, and I think this is where everyone wants to get to because the point where visibility and trust turns into business, and this is what conversion is all about. But conversion doesn't happen because of one brilliant post or a perfectly worded email. It basically happens because of consistency. So when people see your content again and again, they actually start to feel like they already know you. They've built trust quietly over time. So that's when someone can reach out 6 months after connecting and say, I've been following your posts for a while and I think that I'm ready to talk. This is not by accident. It's showing that your content is doing its job. And here's the part that often, unfortunately, gets misunderstood. Your content's ROI or return on investment isn't always easy to measure, but it can be very massive. So let me explain what I mean by this. Content doesn't just generate one direct sale. What it does is it silently fuels every other marketing initiative that you run. I hope that's making sense for you because when you see that people sign up for your webinar, they probably saw one of your posts first, or they read your blog, or the person who downloaded your guide or replied to your email, they likely did it because they've been seeing your content and building confidence in you over time. And so it's incredibly difficult to pinpoint which specific post brought in the dollars because it's never just one thing. It's that cumulative consistency that drives results. And that's where so many professionals misread the data. They look at one post and say, social media doesn't really bring me business. But in my estimation, and in the work that my team and I do every day with our clients, we believe it's entirely false. And they're looking at it the wrong way. So I want you to think of it like this. Every time that you don't show up with content, you're not just missing a post, you are losing visibility, you are losing trust, and ultimately potential revenue. So I believe the real question isn't what business did my content bring in, but rather you should be asking yourself, how much business did I lose by not showing up consistently? Because content works like compound interest. The longer you invest, the bigger the return. And many professionals don't quite understand how powerful this is when they actually invest the time and the money to get this moving consistently. That's why content is not just another marketing task, it's actually the foundation of everything else that you do. So it gives life to your social media posts, to your webinars, to your email campaigns, to your presentations, to your referral partner conversations. It's really just the quiet engine running behind your entire business. And it's really just building awareness, trust, and connection, but it's doing this 24/7, even when you're not in the room. So when people ask me, what's the ROI of content? I simply tell them this. Your content is your sales team that never sleeps. It builds awareness, trust, and connection 24/7. And that's why it's the foundation of every marketing channel that you'll ever use. By the way, if you're finding this episode valuable, I've covered related topics in past episodes that can help deepen your understanding. So please be sure to check out those episodes. I'll drop the links in the show notes so you can easily find them. Okay, now that you see how content works behind the scenes, let's look at how it actually powers every marketing channel that you use. So here's the truth: content is not a separate thing that you do. As I've mentioned before, it's the foundation that makes all other things work. So let's start with your social media. The algorithm does not grow your practice, your ideas do. Yes, the algorithm changes and you do need to adapt to these changes, but at the end of the day, it's your ideas and content that need to resonate with your audience. When you show up with valuable insights, stories, or lessons, what you're doing is you give the algorithm something worth sharing. But most importantly, you give people a reason to stop scrolling. A thoughtful post about what mediation really does for families or in the workplace, or a story about why estate planning conversations can be emotional and can spark trust faster than any other ad you'll do. That's how social media becomes your first layer of brand awareness, not by being everywhere, but by being meaningful where it counts. Okay, so let's talk about email marketing. A lot of professionals think, I'll start sending a newsletter, but then they wonder why no one opens it. And it's usually because the emails read like announcements and not conversations. So, this is something that we do for our clients. We will write their newsletters. And so, strong content really changes that. So, when your emails teach something small, maybe share a perspective or tell a short story, people start to look forward to hearing from you. And I believe that that consistency turns into trust, which eventually turns into clients. So, then there's SEO and your website, right? So, you can spend thousands on keywords, but Google doesn't rank blank pages or thin content. I think you see where I'm going with this. It really ranks expertise. And so expertise is shown through your content, the blog posts, the FAQs section, the explainer pages. All of that stuff demonstrates that you know your information. Okay, so think of your website as your silent salesperson. It's there to reassure people who are checking you out at midnight before they even reach out to you. Without strong content, it's like having an empty storefront. Okay, so I want to chat quickly about webinars and workshops. Most professionals think that the work starts when the camera goes on. But in reality, the success of your webinar depends on the content that you create before it ever happens. Let me explain this. The posts that you write about your webinar, that actually warms people up. The newsletter that you write that teases the webinar about what they'll learn, that's really important information right there. And then the stories that you tell that make the topic relatable, that's what drives signups and fills the room. This is something else that we do for our clients. We help them fill their webinars. And I think without that pre-event content, even the best presentation will feel like you're talking to an empty room. Now, one of the most powerful and often overlooked areas is referral marketing. So we know that your referral partners can only refer you when they understand how to describe what you do. So if your content is clear and consistent, you make it easier for them to talk about you, and it gives them the language and confidence to say, wow, you need to meet her because she's the one who helps families stay out of court. Or he's the person who helps professionals navigate workplace conflict. So your content becomes the story other people tell about you. And that's when your marketing starts to multiply. So here's the takeaway for this. Every marketing channel, social media, email, SEO, webinars, referrals, you name it, they're just a vehicle. But content, that's the fuel. And I think without it, the vehicle sits still. It can't move. So everything starts to move together smoothly, consistently, and with purpose. When that happens, marketing stops feeling like 100 disconnected tasks. It becomes one simple, aligned system that builds trust and visibility day after day. So now that you can see how content fuels every other part of your marketing, let's talk about what it actually takes to build that foundation. I really like to keep this simple because when something feels complicated, my experience is we just don't stick with it, right? So I want you to think of this as a way to really distill the information in a simple way. Essentially, we're always looking for clarity, right? Clarity is knowing exactly who you're talking to and what they need from you. And most professionals make the mistake of writing for everyone. And when you do that, you connect with no one. So your content should make one specific kind of person think, wow, that's me. I can relate to this. So instead of saying, I help people resolve disputes, you might say, I help employees and managers work through conflict before it turns into a legal issue. Or I help families find calm and clarity during one of the most stressful chapters of their lives. When your message is that clear, people instantly know who you are and why you're relevant to them. And here's the bonus part, that clarity makes you feel more confident as well, because when you know who you're talking to, it's so much easier to show up consistently and authentically. So, the next piece of this is consistency. And I really believe that this piece is what separates those who see results from those who don't. Okay. So, you don't need to post every day, but you certainly do need a pattern or a rhythm, something that you can stick to. That might mean posting once a week on Facebook or on LinkedIn, or sending a newsletter once a month, or showing up with an educational video every other week. Whatever pace works for you, you need to commit to it because consistency compounds. And every post, every email, every guest episode that you're on, that builds on the last. And so the more often you show up, the more you train your audience to expect and look forward to hearing from you. And remember, it's not just the people who like or comment who are going to be paying attention. It's those silent followers, those lurkers that I talk about, the ones who watch quietly for months before they even like your post or even reach out. Okay. And so they're the proof that your content is working behind the scenes, even when it doesn't look like it on the surface. And I think the third part of this is connection. And this is where content shifts from being marketing to being meaningful. So connection comes from showing a little more of the human side of your work. So share why you care about what you do and tell a story, maybe about a moment that changed the way you see your clients' challenges, or explain something complex in simple language, right? That really helps people feel less overwhelmed. That's how you move from being just another professional in your field to the one that people will trust, because they can actually feel your empathy and not just your expertise. And not a lot of people understand that. So when you focus on these three things, clarity, consistency, and connection, what happens is your content stops feeling like a chore and really starts working as your most powerful business development tool. And you'll notice your referral partners start using your language when they talk about you. You'll get messages from people who say, "Hey, I've been following you for a while and I'm ready to start working with you." And that's when marketing starts to feel natural because it's no longer about selling. Marketing is always about serving first. And when you show up with value week after week and you let your content quietly do the work for you, that's when marketing equals serving first. And hence why we call our podcast the Serve First, Sell Later Marketing Podcast. So, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's really this, that every marketing channel that you use, whether it's a social media platform or it's email or it's video or webinars or SEO, these are just vehicles. But your content, that's the fuel. And without it, even the most expensive campaigns and best strategies will stall. Because when your content is clear, consistent, and connected to the people that you serve, everything starts to click. And so the right people will find you. Your referral partners understand exactly how to talk about you. Your webinars start to fill up. Your visibility starts to grow naturally. And I think here's what's really interesting. Once you build a strong content foundation, your marketing doesn't feel like you're chasing anyone anymore. It just feels like it's compounding and growing. And you start to realize that every post, every story that you share is working quietly behind the scenes, just reminding people who you are, what you stand for, and how you can help them. And I think that's the point where you stop relying on luck or timing and you just really start relying on momentum. You are making huge strides forward. So here's a quick challenge for you this week. I want you to take 10 minutes to audit your content and ask yourself, is my message clear? Am I showing up consistently? Does my content help people feel understood and not just informed? And that's a really big one. I'd really love for you to focus in on that third one. And if you're unsure about any of those answers, it's not a sign to feel discouraged. It's your opportunity. And this is exactly how we help our clients. Feel free to book a call with me so I can help you figure out what you need to do next. So if you're interested in understanding how to pull this all together, you can book a strategy call with me and you can find a link in the show notes. So, every piece of content that you create going forward is really a chance to build visibility, credibility, and trust one small step at a time. And I want you to remember that your content is the foundation that makes every marketing effort work. It's not extra, it's essential. Okay? It's essential. So I hope this episode gives you the push that you might need today to take your content seriously and not as a box to just check off, but as the most valuable marketing asset that you own. So, if you found today's conversation helpful, please share it with a colleague who's been struggling to see results from their marketing because they don't have a channel problem. They just need a stronger content foundation. Thank you so much for joining me today. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, please do so that you don't miss another episode. See you soon.